Alright everyone, welcome back. So our 2024 reviews continue today with a disappointing team, I would say. The Ottawa Senators. So this is a year where Ottawa was supposed to really start at least improving, getting closer, and it just hasn't been that. It just simply hasn't been that when you look at the numbers. So getting into it here, they were 37, 41, and 4 for 78 points. They were 26th in the NHL this season. I think it's a disappointing year. I think that, honestly, they were supposed to get better this year. They were. And you were expecting at least for them to get into the playoffs, or not get into the playoffs, but at least be, right at the line. Right where Detroit is right now, I'd say. Detroit was just barely outside of the playoffs. They were the best team in the Eastern Conference to not make the playoffs. I think that's where you wanted Ottawa to be, and it just hasn't been that yet. It just hasn't. This is another really disappointing year. Do I think this is the last year of that, though? Possibly. They have a .476 points percentage, which is ranked 26th. They have scored 255 goals, led in 281. So, again, the goal differential has been rough. It has. I think that the biggest issue was the goaltending. The goaltending was terrible this year, and I'll get into that in a little bit here. But, yeah, it was not great for the statistic numbers. They won 21-18-2 at home, so they did a pretty good job at home. And then they went 16-23-2 on the road. So not bad records there in terms of home and away, but still a disappointing season overall. And I think a lot of it was with DJ Smith. There wasn't a lot of accountability. The way they played the game wasn't great. The DJ style was lazy, dump and chasing. The players abided by that, and I didn't think it worked out. Under Jacques Martin, you could see the team got better, but obviously they're going in a different direction, hiring Travis Green. I made a video on that a few weeks ago. I said that I was not a huge fan of it, but obviously, what can I do? I don't control that. So they've scored 3.05 goals per game, which is 20th. They have a 3.43 goals against per game, which is ranked 27th. So again, the goaltending really affected this team down the stretch. I think the defense did a little bit too, but goal scoring wasn't terrible. I think it was better last year actually, but it wasn't that bad this year. You can see that there are signs of improvement offensively with this team. The problems lie on the back end. That's kind of what I look at when I see the Senators on paper. They have an 18% on the power play, which is 22nd, and they have a 75.1 penalty kill percentage, which is ranked 29th. So the special teams got better. The special teams were all right. I don't know if they got better necessarily, but the power play was all right. It was okay compared to other seasons. The penalty kill was really disappointing, though. And it shows the lack of depth that is with the Ottawa Senators and killing off penalties for sure. I do think that this team will be better next year with more work on the team and more improvements to the cap. Their TikTok average was 6, which is ranked 26th, so they're tied with the Coyotes there, but they're ahead of them because they have more higher place finishes. But yeah, those are the team stats for the team. Overall, it wasn't a great season. I think it was very disappointing. There were some positive factors, but there honestly was not a whole lot. On my other recording, I thought that Tim Stützle led the team in scoring. Clearly, I can't read. It was Brady Tkachuk with 81 games played, 37 goals, 37 assists for 74 points. Not a bad year from Brady. Brady had a good season. I think that it's a little bit down compared to previous years, but still, not bad numbers. I think he's a good physical forward, does what he needs to do. I think he's been a great captain here for the Sens. I think there's nothing wrong there. Stützle had a down year, though. 75 games played, 18 goals, 52 assists for 70 points. Only 18 goals is not great, especially when you expected him to at least get to that 80, 90 point plateau again. 70 points is disappointing, especially with only 18 goals. It makes you kind of think, did Stützle go through something? Was he injured? Was he not 100% this year? It makes you wonder. I don't know if he was for sure. I can't remember, but I have no clue. Drake Batherson was third in scoring. 82 games played, 28 goals, 38 assists for 66 points. I think Batherson had as good a year as he's going to get. I think a good 28-goal season there, not too bad. Pretty much 30 goals. That's not terrible there from a guy like Batherson. There were even rumors that he might get traded. I think there's a chance that it happens. I don't know if it's 100%. I doubt it, but there's a solid chance it does. Claude Giroux, fourth in scoring, 82 games played, 21 goals, 43 assists, 64 points. It's a down year compared to last year, but again, he's regressing. He's young. He's older than a lot of these other guys. And I think he was brought in for that veteran presence. Still not a bad player, but definitely not going to reach that plateau he reached last year, probably ever again in his career. So yeah, Giroux there, fourth in scoring. Fifth in scoring is Jacob Chychrun. Chychrun with 82 games played, 14 goals, 27 assists for 41 points. Chychrun had a good season, the best season of the defenseman in Ottawa, and he's the one who's might be on his way out. It seems like he's on his way out the door, essentially. It's been a talk in the last couple of weeks, what they're going to get for Chychrun, when they're going to trade Chychrun, where he's going to. It's probably going to happen, and it sucks because they brought him in as that guy to really fix that blue line, and it just didn't work out that way. Sometimes it doesn't, and it's unfortunate, but it just didn't work out that way. Jake Sanderson, second in scoring, or sixth in scoring, not second. So second amongst defensemen. Sixth in scoring here with 79 games played, 10 goals, 28 assists, 38 points. Sanderson, I know I said Chychrun was probably the best defenseman this year. I think Sanderson overall is the best defenseman on the team. I think Chychrun led offensively, but I think Sanderson's the best defenseman on the team. Great offensively, good defensive-minded game. Is probably the best defenseman on this blue line right now for the Sens, and I think I'd say he's probably the only safe one on that blue line, as of right now at the very least. Matthew Joseph, 72 games played, 11 goals, 24 assists, 35 points. I remember I did something where it was like one player that I was impressed with from each team, and I looked at Ottawa, and there were just a lot of players that I really wasn't impressed with, so I picked Matthew Joseph because I thought he had a good season. But I think overall his standards have been okay. There's been rumors of him getting traded. I wouldn't rule it out, to be honest. I think honestly, almost anyone's on the block right now for the Sens. Almost anyone. I'm not saying everyone is, but I'd say almost everyone is. Josh Norris, 50 games played, 16 goals, 14 assists, 30 points. Yeah, Norris played a lot more games this year at the very least, but the production we saw from him was not what we wanted. It sucks because he was hurt. And I think that really affected him because before the injuries, he was doing really well. He was expected to be one of the better players. And I think if Norris is 100% and playing his full way he was, I think this team maybe makes the playoffs or comes closer at the very least. But Norris just shows that contract that Dorian signed, another absolutely horrid contract. So, that again, another 7 years, I think, of that deal, or 6 years. Thomas Chabot, 51 games played, 9 goals, 21 assists, 30 points. He is 9th in scoring. I think there's a good chance that Chabot gets moved to the offseason too. Again, I think a lot of those defensemen are really not safe. I think a lot of them are going to get traded. I think it's a very solid chance. I know Chychrun's 100% gone. Chabot might be gone with him. We'll see. And then Shane Pinto is 10th in scoring. 41 games played, 9 goals, 18 assists, 27 points. Pinto had a really positive second half, which is funny because only half was the second half. But I think that he had a really positive season this year, and I think that that's something to build off of. He is an RFA this year, however, so we'll see if that actually happens in the future. But I think Pinto was a guy you can build off of there as a solid, middle six player for sure. So as I said, the goaltending is. It was bad this year. It was. I'm not going to really sugarcoat it at all. It was pretty bad. Korpisalo, 21, 26, and 4, a 3.27 and a .890. They brought Korpisalo in to be the guy. They did. They signed him to like a 5x5, I think, somewhere around there, 5x4. And it looked like a decent contract. I might be wrong on the contract, but it looked like a decent move when it happened, because Korpisalo wasn't bad in the series against the Oilers against the Kings, or against the Oilers with the Kings. Against with a really solid on paper defense, you'd think that things would get better, but it didn't. Korpisalo was not great. Is there a chance that he's good next year? Yeah, there is. But I'm not 100% sold on Korpisalo being the starting goalie. I'm not. I'm just simply not with this current Sens team right now. So that's something they need to look at this offseason and say, well, what exactly can we go out and acquire? Can we go and move away Korpisalo? Can we buy out Korpisalo? I doubt they do that, but they got to at least question it. Could we go out and get someone like Linus Ullmark? Could we move Korpisalo for him? There's a lot of questions you can ask when you're looking at the goaltending, but it needs to be solved. It needs to be tampered with. That's the biggest thing I think this team needs to do. Anton Forsberg is the backup, 5-12-0, a 3.21 and a .890. Forsberg wasn't much better. He wasn't. His numbers weren't much better either. I think of the two goalies, I think I'm taking Forsberg, but I think honestly, yeah, he wasn't that much better in less games played too. So in terms of guys who were in and guys that were out, and unfortunately, even though the team was disappointing, Ottawa didn't make that many trade deadline moves. They did acquire Jamison Rees and a third and a fourth. That was the ins they got. And then the outs were Vladimir Tarasenko and a 6th-round pick. So, yeah, they didn't get a whole lot for Tarasenko. I didn't expect them to get a whole lot because their hands were kind of tied. But it does suck. And this team has missed the playoffs for so long. My heart goes out to so many Sens fans. I run a podcast with one. It sucks not seeing this team in the playoffs because I really enjoyed watching this team over the last couple of years, especially last season. In 22-23, this team showed signs of really, really good positivity, and they looked like they could be back in the playoffs next year or this year, but didn't happen. So we're looking at next season now. So I think next season, I don't want to say it's the year, but I think it has to be. I'm not saying it is, but it needs to be. They need to at least show improvement because they have been in the bottom 5, bottom 10 in the NHL for the last 6 or 7, 8 years now. It's been a long time. It has. And I think that if they want to show signs of improvement and satisfy the fans, they're going to need to see some drastic improvement next season. I feel like they will, but then again, I thought that so many times for the team behind me, and it just hasn't happened yet. So in terms of what the future's looking like, what you got for draft capital and free agency, you have the 7th overall pick. You have your 1st-round pick from Boston. You got a second. You have no 3rd, 4 4th-round picks, a 5th, and no 6th or 7th. So they have draft capital. They could draft a solid defenseman or the best player available at 7th, and then I think they could get a later forward later on in the draft. But above all, I think you need to get a defenseman. That's my biggest thing with Ottawa. Unless if they go out and they acquire someone for the right now term for Chychrun. Unless if they get someone like that, I think you're going to need to go with a defenseman there. But obviously, we'll see what the Chychrun trade looks like and if that even happens and all that good stuff. And finally, UFAs and RFAs. You have, for your UFAs, you got Dominik Kubalik, a very short list there. Your RFAs are Shane Pinto, Parker Kelly, Boris Kachuk, and Eric Brandstrom. So, I think Kubalik goes. I don't see him staying. Pinto, they keep around. Kelly, they keep around. Kachuk probably gets let go, and maybe even Brandstrom, too. Brandstrom has not panned out to the level that we thought he was going to in Ottawa just yet. And I think, honestly, if they're going to keep him around, he's probably going to be an AHL or at best. So maybe just let him go. We'll see. But above all, I think the things Ottawa needs to do is figure the goaltending problem out. They need to get as much as they can for Chychrun. And just hope that Travis Green coming in can mentor this team. Because I think they have the potential to be a good team. It's just a matter of getting over that hump and fully developing. It's just that's the hardest thing of a rebuild is coming out of it. Going into it's easy. You can just flip everyone away and trade them all away. But coming out of it is the difficult part. So we'll see if the Senators can do that next season. Sorry. Well, maybe next offseason we'll be talking about them at this time in the playoffs. But regardless, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to like, subscribe down below. I greatly appreciate it. We will do more of these soon. I got 7 of them out now currently, this one and 6 other ones. So we're about halfway through the non-playoff teams. But regardless, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Adios.